What's up, YouTube? Today we're going to learn how to do the scissor cut. Now you're probably here because you've probably watched a couple videos on how to do the scissor cut, and they always say the same thing. You know, it doesn't matter how big your hands are. If you just practice, you can do the scissor cut, which is kind of true, but also it's kind of a lie. And the most frustrating part is the next part of their video is always that nice top-down view where you get to see that they have giant lobster hands. Then you start trying to do the cut and following along with them, and you figure, man, it would be way easier just to cut a deck of cards with a pair of scissors. Which is a lot harder than you might expect. Now, it is true that with enough practice, you will eventually be able to do this. There are some secret things that you can do, especially if you have teeny tiny hands like me, that will make this process a heck of a lot easier. One is, I'm gonna show you how to make your hands a little bit more flexible, which will help you with all one-handed cuts. And also, I'm gonna show you a little bit of an angle technique that they never mention because they probably don't notice it because their hands are ginormous lobster hands. But that will make it much, much easier. So grab your deck of cards and let's get started. Okay guys, do me a big old favor and do not skip this part of the video. I'm gonna do a little bit of explaining as well as a couple of how-to kind of things here. So the first thing you want to do when practicing a new cut is you want to take off about a third of the deck. All right, you don't want to start trying to do a one-handed cut, learning one anyway, with the full deck. You're just going to get really frustrated. So I'm going to go over the whole cut really fast. It looks obviously like that if you haven't seen it before. Now, let's break that down step by step. Essentially, all you're doing is you're holding it, your thumb and your pinky come together, and then they spread apart really far, and then they come back. That's the cut, that's the hand movement. So if we break that down, the first thing you want to be able to do is just hold the deck in your hands. You're going to go from classic grip here, or dealer's grip, that's where you deal cards down. And you're going to go into modified dealer's grip. And all that means is you're taking your pinky and putting it on the bottom. So just remember your thumb on the side, your first finger on top, your three fingers on the bottom. You then take your pinky and you put it on the bottom. Now, we're going to just practice with just a single packet, with just this, what your fingers are going to do. So you're going to kind of, you can see how my pinky is kind of crimped out. What you want to do is just flex your hand out like this with the cards, without dropping the cards. Just flex your hand out like this. This is what the lower half of the cards are going to do, right? Now, the next thing you're going to do is you're just going to take your thumb and put it next to your pinky, and then you're going to transfer the whole thing, and you're going to try to hold the whole deck with your first finger and your thumb. If you can do these two things, right, and you're going to turn the deck perpendicular. So right now, it's going this way. You're going to make it go that way, right? It's perpendicular to its original motion. Now, if you can do these two things, you can do the whole cut. If you can't do these two things, practice this motion until you can do it. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can notice I do this cut and it's not perfect. You just need the ability to actually do these. Now, when you can do it with 2/3 of the deck like we're doing right now, it's going to get a lot easier when we do it with much less of the deck. So you're going to be doing this with like a third. So again, you're just going back and forth. Don't worry if it's really sloppy. You just want to be able to do this motion. Now, I'm going to split this in half just to show you something. So this is where a lot of the videos kind of go wrong, is they explain the cut as like a 90-degree thing here, and then the cards kind of come over. That's what it looks like is happening. That's not really what's happening. So watch, if I were to split the deck like that, right, I have to get, your whole goal in this cut is get these two corners to clear. That's what you want. You want that clear so this corner ends up on top of this corner, right? So when I'm doing the actual cut, my goal is to have this corner and this corner clear each other. See how it clears? And then I'm allowed to finish the cut. That's the hardest part. But if I were to take these and hold them where they're just flat to each other, and I wanted to clear, look how much space, look how much of a big angle I have to do to clear these two to get them to one corner to go underneath the other. It's just this huge angle. And if you have big hands, you can do this, actually. You can just stretch your hands enough to do it. Most people aren't going to be able to do this. So watch if I do this. If I angle the decks up as I go, look how much of a smaller angle I now have to complete the cut. And that's the secret to being able to do this. The next thing you're going to do is we're going to try the cut. So you're going to put it in your hands, and I'm going to explain how this angly thing works. Your ring finger is going to do a little bit of work, and your thumb is going to do a little bit of a weird movement. So if you haven't heard that before, that means you've learned how to do this cut from somebody who has ginormous hands, or who's been doing it so long they don't even notice what they're doing. So what's going to happen is when you go, what you're going to do is you're going to take your thumb and you're going to kind of peel down. You're going to push down on the corner. The cards are going to kind of bevel, so that way you can put your thumb in here like this. Then you're going to slide it up next to your pinky. Now what's going to happen is you're going to use your first finger here as a pivot point, and it's going to pivot out. Now this is about as far as I can get with just keeping the decks flat like this. This is not that big of an angle. So two things are going to happen. One, you're going to keep pulling this out, and you'll see this deck shifts. It's actually pointing slightly up now. At the same time, my ring finger is going to pull down like this. It's going to go like this. And what that's going to do is it's going to allow us to get past that corner. And then bringing it back, you'll end up hitting your pinky. You just have to let go with your pinky and then push with your thumb. So let me do that again slowly. We have our fingers here. Your pinky is on bottom, right? You start on the mechanics grip. You're going to move your pinky to the bottom. You want your pinky a little off center. You can see it's just slightly off center. Your thumb is going to come over to the corner. It's going to push down and just kind of slide itself in there like that. It's then going to kind of come over and meet the pinky, and it's going to push against the top deck. It's going to push against the first finger here to allow you to grab that deck. Now, two things are going to happen. You're going to come back with your thumb, and it's going to hit that deck, and it's going to bend backwards like that. At the same time, you're going to use your ring finger, and you're going to curl it in to pivot this deck up. Your pinky, it's going to be kind of hard because your pinky does need to stay straight, but most people can't bend their ring finger. Most people can't bend their just their pinky, but you can bend just your ring finger. So you're bending just your ring finger to pull that back and allow that corner to clear. You then are going to come back in, and now this is pretty much your gravy after this, because now it's just, this is a smoothing out technique, which is you're going to lean your hand kind of towards the ground here. So that way the cards are resting on these fingers here. Gravity does the work. That way you can let go with your pinky and your thumb, and you can push it together. So you just reorientate. Let me show you that again. So if I go back a little bit right here, right? So I'm going to let go with my pinky. It's going to come over to the corner of the bottom one now, and let go with my thumb, and that way it'll kind of guide it in. I can push with my thumb. One last time, nice and slow, all right? Not too fast. You're going to take your thumb, you're going to push down on these cards here. Slide your thumb in, up next to your pinky. You're going to come out. It's going to be about this angle flat, and then this is when it starts to curl up here, right? You keep going as far as you can. Then at the same time, your ring finger is going to push down, allowing you to clear that corner and come back in. Now, a couple common things that may happen to you. If you're still having a little bit of trouble, here's what you want to try. Try, first off, removing some cards. If you're still having some trouble, do not try to take a 50-50 split, all right? If you've been watching my splits, I'm leaving a little bit less here than on the bottom. And I don't know why exactly, but it does just make it that much easier to slide it under. I think it's because the bottom deck here is stationary, and this is really the deck, the packet that's moving. And so when the packet clears it, it's just allowing a little bit more space to kind of get down here and then slide it on in like that. Now, once you get this proficient, once you can accomplish the cut, you're pretty much set. It's all going to be just repetition. If you still can't accomplish the cut, what you want to do is just keep doing this motion and kind of try to hold your hand out as flat as you can. So you're going to put it onto your pinky and then widen out your hands without dropping the deck as much as you can. Then go back, widen out your hand as much as you can without dropping the deck. And this is something you're going to have to repeat. What it's doing is it's stretching out your hand. I advise just doing this while you like watch TV or something, because it is just a practice method. So just to stretch your hand out. And when you look at both of my hands, you can tell I do all my cuts with my left hand, because my left hand, it can just stretch a lot more than my right hand can. My right hand's a little bit, it's still pretty flexible, but not as flexible as this. And you're trying to get that flexibility for this cut. All right. The angle helps, the angling of the deck helps, but you do need to get a little bit more flexible. If you have bigger hands, it's just like a snap. Now, remember, your overall goal when you're doing this cut is just to clear these corners, these two corners. You're just clearing those corners to bring it on in. That's the goal. Once you can accomplish that, the smoothness will come with time. It's just practicing over and over. Once you can do the cut, you just do it a ton and you'll get that smoothness. Now, when you start practicing, just keep adding a card, adding a card, adding a card until you can do this cut with a full deck. Okay, let's just go over a couple last few tips. Now, hopefully at this point, if you're not already able to kind of do a really sloppy scissor cut, hopefully you are able to at least kind of get a little bit further than what you got before. Your goal really is those two corners. So keep that in mind when you're practicing. After you get it down, once you get the cut and you can complete this cut, the one thing you want to do is just repetition, repetition, repetition. Sit in front of the TV and watch your favorite show and just practice it in your hands. Try not to think about it. Eventually, it will get better and better. Now, you're not looking for it to be really smooth. You're just looking to accomplish the cut. The more times you do it, the smoother it will get naturally. That's really the part that comes from your repetition of practice. The initial day of practice, you should eventually, within the first couple days, you should be able to accomplish the cut. Now, I need you guys to do one more super important thing. Give me a thumbs up on the video. Also, if you have ideas on what other things that are really hard to do with small hands, please leave them in the comments below. What's another video I should do how-to on for smaller hands? I really want to do one on palming a card, but I'd like to hear what you want to learn. So if there's something that you've struggled with for a while, put it down in the comments. If it's something that's within my repertoire of experience, I will go ahead and teach it in my next video. Other than that, make sure to subscribe and give it a little thumbsy upsies. Thank you guys very much. Adios.